What if saving too much was just as dangerous as not saving enough? In 2025, the IRS has redrawn the lines on Roth IRA contribution limits, and millions of savers are at risk of crossing them without even realizing it. Imagine building your nest egg faithfully for decades, only to learn that one extra deposit turned your growth into a penalty. Most investors never see this coming. Custodians don't highlight it, brochures don't explain it, and by the time the penalty arrives, it's too late. The danger isn't just in undersaving, it's in over-contributing, and the cost can quietly wipe out thousands of dollars from the future you thought was secure. Stay with me until the end, because in this video, I'll reveal the hidden rules, the traps most retirees never see, and how you can protect yourself before it's too late. And before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Drop a comment on whether you think these rules are fair, and subscribe to XRP Today USA, so you never miss the insights that could save your retirement. Part 1. The promise of growth versus the hidden ceiling. Every saver begins with the same dream. Contribute steadily, grow your balance, and unlock a retirement free from financial stress. An XRP Roth IRA looks like the perfect vehicle for that dream. Tax-free growth, exposure to crypto, and the promise of freedom later in life. It feels like the reward for decades of discipline. But hidden above that promise is a ceiling that most don't see until it's too late. In 2025, the XRP Roth IRA contribution limits quietly shifted again, and the penalties for exceeding them are more punishing than ever. What feels like extra savings, a few thousand more just to be safe, can trigger fines that erase months of growth in a single stroke. The illusion is cruel. You think you're doing the right thing, that more saving can only be better. But the system doesn't reward discipline without limits. It punishes it. Go over the ceiling, and the IRS doesn't pat you on the back for trying harder. It sends you a bill that turns discipline into loss. The dream of growth is real, but so is the hidden ceiling that waits to cut it short. And once you see it clearly, you realize that contribution isn't just about saving, it's about survival. Part 2. The shifting lines of 2025. Rules are hard enough when they stay the same. But in 2025, the boundaries around contributions moved again, creating confusion even for experienced savers. The XRP Roth IRA contribution limits were adjusted, tied to income thresholds and new IRS definitions that feel more like puzzles than protection. One year, the maximum feels safe. The next, that same amount is suddenly too much, and the punishment falls on the retiree, not the system. These shifting lines don't just complicate saving, they destabilize trust. How can you plan for decades when the rules change every few years? This isn't accidental. The complexity ensures mistakes are inevitable. Savers cross lines they didn't even know were there, while custodians and regulators remain untouched. They profit from the confusion, while individuals pay the price. The shifting boundaries reveal the uncomfortable truth. Contribution rules aren't built to empower investors. They're built to protect the system. And each adjustment increases the chance of penalties, turning careful planning into a minefield. What feels like steady progress can, overnight, become a costly violation. And in this uncertainty, many retirees are forced into decisions that carry consequences they never intended. Part 3. The cost of crossing the line. At first, crossing the limit seems harmless. After all, it's your money. You've earned it, saved it, and set it aside for the future. What could be wrong with contributing a little extra? But in 2025, the IRS has made it clear. When you exceed the XRP Roth IRA contribution limits, the punishment is swift and costly. The penalties can strip away 6% of the excess amount every single year until the mistake is corrected. That means what looks like a small oversight can snowball into thousands of dollars lost over time. Worse, many savers don't even realize they've broken the rule until the penalty notice arrives. By then, the damage is locked in. This is the trap. Discipline without knowledge. Retirees who think they are being cautious by saving more actually set themselves up for loss. The rules don't reward extra effort, they exploit it. And once the penalty clock starts ticking, it keeps draining your savings until you pay the price to reset it. The cost of crossing the line isn't just money, it's confidence. It's the sinking realization that the system is rigged, that even your best intentions can be turned against you. And it's exactly this hidden cost that forces many retirees into frustration and regret. Part 4. The illusion of control. Most retirees believe they control their savings. They decide how much to contribute, when to invest, and how to prepare for the future. On the surface, it feels empowering, like the account belongs entirely to them. But hidden within the XRP Roth IRA contribution limits 2025 is a different reality. You don't decide how much is enough. The system does. Exceed the ceiling, even by accident, and your so-called control dissolves instantly into penalties and fines. This illusion is powerful because it makes savers feel secure. They think they are steering the ship, but the course is predetermined by rules they didn't write and can't change. The IRS doesn't see discipline, it sees compliance. And custodians don't protect you. They profit whether you succeed or stumble. The danger of this illusion is that it hides the real source of power. True control doesn't come from blindly following numbers on a form. It comes from understanding the traps hidden inside those numbers. Until you see the illusion for what it is, you'll always mistake dependency for freedom. And that's exactly how the system keeps winning, by letting you believe you hold the wheel, while quietly steering the outcome in its favor. Part 5. Why the system always profits. No matter how disciplined you are, the rules are designed so the system never loses. When you contribute within the limit, custodians collect their maintenance fees. When you trade inside your account, brokers profit on every move. And when you cross the XRP Roth IRA contribution limits 2025, the IRS steps in with penalties that turn your mistake into revenue. It's a game where every outcome benefits someone else. If you save less, you worry about not having enough. If you save more, you risk crossing the line. Either way, the stress is yours, and the profits belong to them. This structure isn't an accident. Complexity ensures confusion, and confusion guarantees mistakes. And every mistake feeds the system with more fees, more penalties, and more control. The institutions don't suffer when you stumble. They gain. That's why it feels like the house always wins, because it does. The rules were written not to guide you toward freedom, but to ensure your dependency remains profitable. Once you see this clearly, you realize that survival isn't about trusting the system. It's about learning how to navigate it without feeding it more than you must. Part 6. The moving finish line. Retirement planning would be simpler if the rules stayed still. But in reality, the finish line is always moving. In 2025, contribution ceilings shifted once again, tied to income brackets, inflation adjustments, and IRS interpretations that most people never fully understand. For savers in an XRP Roth IRA, this means uncertainty at every step. You believe you're in the safe zone, only to discover that a new update pushed the ceiling lower, or changed how your income is calculated. What was compliant yesterday can become a violation today, with penalties waiting in the shadows. This constant movement isn't coincidence, it's control. By shifting the rules, the system ensures that retirees never feel secure. You're always second-guessing, always chasing, never fully confident that your strategy is safe. And that uncertainty breeds mistakes, which feed the system even more. It feels like running a marathon where the finish line keeps moving farther away. No matter how carefully you plan, the goalposts are reset. And the cost of missing them is not just financial, it's emotional. Doubt, anxiety, and frustration creep in, draining the very peace of mind retirement was supposed to bring. The moving finish line shows that the challenge isn't just saving enough, It's surviving the shifting rules that decide how much enough really is. Part 7. The emotional weight numbers on a page don't just affect money, they shape emotions. When retirees discover they've exceeded the XRP Roth IRA contribution limits 2025, the penalty isn't only financial. It's the crushing weight of frustration, regret, and the feeling of being trapped in a system they thought they understood. Fear shows up first. The fear of losing control, of watching years of discipline wiped away by a single misstep. Then comes anger. Anger at rules that seem designed to punish effort instead of reward it. And finally, regret, the heaviest weight of all, as retirees replay their decisions, wondering how something so small could have gone so wrong. This emotional burden is rarely discussed, yet it's one of the most destructive forces in retirement planning. Because emotions drive behavior. Fear pushes people to pull money out early, risking further penalties. Anger leads to rash decisions that create even bigger mistakes. And regret causes paralysis, keeping people from acting when clarity is most needed. The system doesn't account for emotion, it exploits it. By keeping rules complex and shifting, it ensures that savers not only pay in dollars, but also in peace of mind. And unless these emotions are faced head-on, they can do more damage than the penalties themselves. Part 8. A retiree's painful lesson. Susan was 61 when she thought she had finally secured her future. For decades, she contributed faithfully to her Roth IRA, and when she discovered she could add XRP exposure, she felt she was ahead of the curve. But in 2025, she made what seemed like a small mistake. She contributed just a little more than the limit. She didn't know the XRP Roth IRA contribution limits 2025 had shifted. Nobody warned her. Her custodian processed the deposit without a word. And months later, Susan received the notice. She had exceeded the ceiling. The penalty? 6% every year until the excess was corrected. The money she thought was growing for her future was now shrinking under the weight of compounding fines. Worse, the trust she had in her own planning evaporated. She had done everything right, yet still ended up punished. Susan's story is not unique. Thousands of retirees make the same mistake every year, not because they're reckless, but because the rules are designed for confusion. Her lesson is a reminder that retirement security doesn't depend only on saving. It depends on seeing the traps that turn discipline into loss. And if Susan's story feels uncomfortably familiar, it's because the system is built to make sure it could happen to anyone. Part 9. The fork in the road. Every retiree eventually reaches a moment of choice. On one side lies the easy path, dependence. You trust custodians to tell you the rules. You assume the IRS will guide you fairly, and you hope that following the surface instructions will keep you safe. Dependence feels simple, even comforting, but it leaves you vulnerable to hidden penalties like the XRP Roth IRA contribution limits 2025 trap. On the other side lies independence. Independence means taking ownership, learning how the rules really work, and refusing to be blindsided by shifting ceilings. It requires effort and awareness, but it offers clarity. With independence, you stop reacting to fines. You anticipate them. You stop fearing rules. You navigate them with confidence. The fork in the road is clear. Dependence leads to regret. Independence leads to freedom. Most people hesitate here, convincing themselves they can stand in the middle. But in reality, there is no middle. You either surrender control, or you claim it. And the path you choose doesn't just shape your savings. It shapes your future peace of mind. Because retirement isn't just about money, it's about freedom. And freedom only comes when you stop waiting for permission and start building on your own terms. Part 10. The final warning. Here's the truth. No one tells you. Contribution limits aren't guidelines, they're traps. The system isn't generous, it's precise. Go over the line and your discipline is punished. Stay under without understanding, and your growth is stunted. Either way, the house wins, unless you take control. The XRP Roth IRA contribution limits 2025 are not just numbers on a page. They're boundaries designed to test whether you're blindly dependent or actively aware. Most people learn the hard way, through penalties, regret, and years of lost growth. But you don't have to. Awareness is the shield. By understanding the rules before they strike, you reclaim control over your savings. By planning with clarity, you transform retirement from a maze into a path. And by refusing to let hidden rules dictate your peace of mind, you secure the freedom that's always been your goal. Vision line. The hidden danger isn't failing to save. It's saving past the limit that turns growth into loss. The choice is yours. Let the system quietly drain your future, or step forward armed with knowledge and independence. In the end, retirement is either your prison or your freedom. And the difference begins with seeing the final warning. You've now seen how contribution limits aren't just numbers, they're traps. The greatest danger isn't failing to save, it's saving past the ceiling that turns growth into loss. And the system is counting on you not to notice until it's too late. Tell me in the comments, do you think contribution rules are designed to protect savers or to profit from their mistakes? Your perspective could spark a conversation that saves someone else's retirement. Share this video with friends or family who are planning their retirement. One simple warning could save them thousands of dollars in penalties. And don't leave without subscribing to XRP Today USA at XRP Today USA. Every day we uncover the hidden rules, expose the traps, and give you the clarity to turn retirement into freedom, not punishment. Vision line. The hidden danger isn't failing to save. It's saving past the limit that turns growth into loss. Together, we can build a community that refuses to surrender to hidden penalties and chooses independence over dependence. Because freedom in retirement isn't given, it's claimed.